First time chatter Freshu says, I've heard Devastation single is pretty boring and simple. How much would I agree? Well, you know what? You don't have to take it from me. Let me fly over to a dummy and I'll just show you real quick how the single target rotation works for Devastation. It's not too bad. It's pretty quick. I think there's a dummy over here I can show you. So full disclosure, there are a couple different ways to path through the talent trees, and there are a couple of optional talents that you can take. And so I do think in a like proper raid situation, you'll probably end up taking this this Shattering Star button, right? And then similarly, if you find that you're on a fight where the enemy, like the boss, like puts up a shield every once in a while, then you have this little shield hate button that you might spec. But overall, for pure single, you're basically gonna go, okay, here's my single target guy, right? All right. So let's get like in combat with him. All right. So basically, as Evoker, I have effectively six basic rotational buttons. So I have two filler spells, two spenders, two sort of upkeep and power abilities that I use on cooldown. And then these couple buttons that I can spec into, but that I haven't, right? So on single, I might do something like, all right, let's cast a, oops, not even the one I wanted to. Let's cast a Fire Breath, and the higher rank I cast this at, the longer the dot on it lasts. So I've got this dot rolling. Then I might cast a Living Flame, because there's a cool interaction with it, where it'll like it'll cleave onto other stuff. I'll cast another Empower, which is my Eternity Surge. I only have to cast it at level 1, because that's all I need to do to hit one target. And then, you know, alright, well, I've got, like, my Spender, so let's, like, Disintegrate. And I've got some more Essence, so let's Disintegrate. Alright, I got a free Living Flame instant proc, so let's cast that. Well, we have no Essence, so let's cast the filler. Alright, we got a proc for a free Disintegrate, so let's Disintegrate. Alright, we have Essence, so let's Disintegrate. Alright. Our Fire Breath's back up. Let's cast the rank 4 Fire Breath. Let's cast an Eternity Surge. Alright, we got a Living Flame. Let's do a Living Flame. How about a Disintegrate? How about a Living Flame? How about a Living Flame? How about a Disintegrate, because we got a proc. Alright, now how about a Living Flame? Alright, we have enough Essence for a Disintegrate. Let's do a Disintegrate. How about a Living Flame? Should we cast a Living Flame? Maybe another Living Flame. How about a Living Flame? Alright. Our Fire Breath's back up. Let's actually cast it at rank 4 this time. Great. Oh, our Eternity Surge is back up. Let's cast that at rank 1. Alright, we have a Disintegrate. Let's go. Alright, I think it's Living Flame time. That's our filler. Oh, we got a proc. Let's Disintegrate. Alright, we can Disintegrate again because we have Essence. Let's cast a Living Flame. We got an instant proc. Another instant proc. Let's cast it again. And again. Oh, we have enough Essence for a Disintegrate. Let's go. So... and then, obviously, you know, with movement, right? That's out of coolies, right? That's basically the single target spec. So it's a bit of a meme. In coolies, you do something like this. So you have your Dragonrage. Your Dragonrage makes you actually proc that that free essence, free spender thing every once in a while. I didn't touch my other two buttons, by the way. I didn't touch my Azure Strike, which is my cleave filler, and I didn't touch my Pyre, which is my cleave spender, both of which aren't very useful in single. But you know, on a single target, when I have cooldowns ready to go, I might do Dragonrage is my major cooldown, and I have Tip the Scales, which is on the same cooldown that lets me instant cast one of my power spells at max. So I might do something like this. I'll go Dragonrage, Tip the Scales. We're going to cast that Fire Breath instant. We'll follow with Living Flame, and then we'll cast a rank 1 Eternity Surge, and we're just going to go Disintegrate. Disintegrate. It procced itself. Disintegrate. It procced itself. Disintegrate. Alright. We're going to follow with the Living Flame to proc it again. We're going to go Disintegrate. And we're going to go Living Flame. And I'm actually going to cast Fire Breath because it's up. I'm going to cast it at rank 4. And then we're going to go Disintegrate. And I've still got 3 seconds on my cooldown. Disintegrate. And I'm going to go Disintegrate. And then my cooldown's over. And so I actually have full essence now. And I can... Well, I'm chaining procs a little bit. And now I'm actually spending essence. Oh, wait, but I procced it again. Okay, I got a lot of procs, so we're still disintegrating. And maybe now we spend a Living Flame, and we proc the Disintegrate. And now we're disintegrating. I should have paid attention and pushed these. Anyway, that's basically the spec, right? So I want to be super clear. The rotation is not difficult. The rotation is not difficult, and if you're like really, really dead set on something that is hard or complicated or that has a lot of buttons, you're not going to get it here. There is Shattering Star, which you can run. Shattering Star basically says, okay, every 15 seconds you weave in one other button, and that's going to make you do more damage for the next spells you cast in the next 4 seconds. So you're basically going to say, okay, do I have enough resource? You're going to try and pull up resource a little bit right before this window. You're going to push Shattering Star, and then you're going to try and cram in basically Disintegrates. That's basically what you're going to do. And or the rank 1 Eternity Surge. I'm not exactly sure what the exact sim optimal rotation will be, but on single, you'll probably take this ability, and then once every 15 seconds, you'll weave this in as well. So the biggest thing with this spec is probably going to be the movement, right? So you're gonna be like, all right, cool. I can get my rank 4 Fire Breath. I'm gonna cast like a Living Flame. I'm gonna do my Eternity Surge, and then I can quickly cast a quick hover. And now suddenly, okay, my Living Flame's going. I can cast Disintegrate while I'm hovering. I can cast Disintegrate while I'm hovering. Maybe I shoot a Pyre and do another hover, and now I'm Living Flaming. And I can Disintegrate, and I'm doing circles around the boss, and maybe I do a little Living Flame here. I pop my Coolies, and then I cast a Living Flame into another little Disintegrate. I could do a Fire Breath here off the side, you know, Living Flame. Maybe I pop Time Spiral and do another quick little hover, so I'm still hovering, right? But I'm in my Coolies, so I'm pushing all this stuff. I'm still doing, you know, like I'm dancing around, whatever. Oh crap, I can, you know, do one of these and then keep going, right? So it's got the mobility at the very least, right? And I don't know if any of you guys just came from Max's stream or if you even knew he was on. Don't leave now, but he was talking tonight a little bit about Evoker mobility and how it works in Raid and that kind of thing. And that is basically the punchline for Devastation Evoker right now, is that even if I add in 1 or 2 more buttons, it doesn't make it that much more complicated. And we are really going to have to sit down and see from like a simulation standpoint what actually ends up being the sort of optimal rotation and what spells we put into those windows and that kind of thing. It doesn't really change much. We don't have that many buttons. But it will be, you know, it will be something where we are going to want to figure out, okay, well then, how are we best dealing with mechanics? What does it mean to, you know, like pop a hover to get out here and then pop a hover to get back into the middle? I don't know what happened there that I popped a hover and I just kind of jumped up in the air. That was great, but anyway. It's going to be using mobility to actually get around the raid environment. That's going to be the biggest thing. So let me see. Yeah, Dusk, I hit some procs in a row there on the Disintegrate. That was pretty funny. Fresh, you coming from Shadow, I don't think I can put myself through this. Yeah, is there any outlook that this could be more interesting? So, so I kind of mentioned already, you know, Shattering Star, Focusing Iris, which makes this 6-second window, definitely helps. So having another button every 15 seconds where you have a focus to sort of put all your spenders in there, ideally, helps, for sure. If there's some weird crackpot world where you take both Firestorm and Shattering, which I don't see likely right now, you could have up to 8 buttons in your rotation, which is very fun. Something that has been, you know, talked about a lot is if they were to put more interactions into Azure Strike, which is, again, this cleave filler that I hadn't even touched at all on single, but you'll note that this one's at least an instant cast, so I can use it while moving. And then I've got Pyre, which is instant cast. It's my instant cast AoE spender. And you'll notice, you know, okay, it shoots a ball, it hits everything, great. But that one also doesn't really, it's not very appealing in single target just because of the way that it's tuned. It's uncapped AoE, right? So these 2 buttons don't really have enough interactions to make them particularly interesting in a small target count situation. But Disintegrate, actually, the way that this thing works with Scintillation especially is that you have this chance to shoot off Eternity Surges, and the Eternity Surges actually cleave onto multiple targets with Eternity Span, and they're actually generating Essence Burst for you with Eye of Infinity, right? So Disintegrate is actually doing some cool things in AoE situations, even if it's like, we're talking about like small cleave situations, like 3 targets, 4 targets, right? Your single target ability is actually doing some good stuff there. or at least, you know, interesting enough. And then if you happen to run Charge Burst, which says, or Charge Blast, which says, hey, your Pyre is going to do more damage after you cast a bunch of blue spells, you can let that go every once in a while. Once it gets to high stacks, you get a little Essence Burst proc, and maybe, you know, you have 5-6 targets, and it makes sense, right? So, but I do think the biggest thing here, the test, right, will be, how does this thing actually play in Raid? How much of my mental do I have to use to do mechanics and to move around and do that kind of thing? I don't quite know if that build is exactly what is on screen here, but it should be close. I think I moved a couple of talents here to pick up Zephyr because I wanted to try Zephyr. But the rest of it should be the same, I think. Is basically, the test is going to be how this thing actually plays out in Raid. And then I can definitely see a world where they start tweaking. They go, hey, we were really thinking about it and we wanted to add a new interaction between, like, Azure Strike and Pyre, such that, you know, every second Azure Strike hits twice as many targets and it makes your Pyre do more damage or something. Like, you know, I don't know, just something to make it a little more spicy, right? They could definitely do something like that. They could put nodes like that into the tree, you know. There's room to grow. I'm not expecting too many changes right now for launch necessarily, but there is room for this thing to grow for sure. It's good from a fundamental standpoint, at the very least. I think it's a good foundation. I do think it might get sort of stale in the long run if they don't add on to it. The only other thing, and this is one thing that I know a few people are kind of waiting on, is if we get tier sets. This is the sort of spec that is saying you can do pretty much anything with a tier set. The sky's the limit, right? Because you don't have to worry about it being too complicated. You don't have to worry about it doing something weird. You don't have to worry about it being something that's been done before, because of course you could do something like there's nothing that's been done before. It's a brand new class, right? So sky's the limit on tier bonuses. So they could put some interesting stuff in there too, and it's possible that they're holding something back for it also, right? Similarly, it's possible that they're holding something back for the tier set and they put it in and then they find out, you know what, that's actually really, really, really fun. I want it to always play like that, and then bake it into the class in some way. Right? They can actually use this expansion with the tier sets to sort of play with different interactions. And if they like them, just put them in baseline, right? So that's something that I'm optimistic for the spec about, at the very least. But yeah, all of this kind of bouncing off of, you know, what do we think about the single target rotation? It's simple. There's really not that much to it. You can pick up talents to make it a little spicier, which I think we will end up doing for Raid. But the biggest thing is really that it's meant to be able to teach you how to do your mobility, how to deal with the 25-yard range, and it's hopefully going to train you to be like that top-tier awareness player where you're making good decisions about when to use hover, you're using, you know, your utility to help your raid, you're doing cool plays with Verdant Embrace and Rescue, right? So they're really leaning on that, I think, to sort of help that experience along. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking there.